Good morning, guys. That was a very enthusiastic good morning.
Yeah, because it's Tuesday morning. And we're on a science cycle.
So science cycle, you can't?
We need to study first.
Okay. Anyway, moving on from your guys' problems to current stuff. What we're dealing here is we learned the idea that we had the array of games objects and we initialized each position. And strangely enough, this actually should be J6 because that's where it does start on there. But so when we go, a couple of things that I just wanted to clarify on. When we go in our ratings manager, when we say new game, when we use the term new, that is like physically creating one of these objects. New creates the object. Do you guys get that? So new creates the object. When we go, for example, if I say, just for argument's sake, game G is equal to games position num games minus 1. Oops. Sorry. Okay. As the Excel was giving me problems yesterday, today it's Netbeans. No, Netbeans, you've been so good to me. So it should be game small case G. Alright, if I do that, that is not creating a new object, it's just creating a pointer to the same object that already exists. Do you guys get the difference?
Yes.
Some people said no, some people said yes. Okay, new game physically goes and in RAM it will create a new game. Does that make sense? So it will create a new game. There's a new game in RAM. Does that make sense? When I say is equal to a game that already exists, all I'm doing is passing a reference to it. So J6. So all I'm doing is I'm passing something to refer to an object that already exists. Do you guys get it?
Yep.
So a new game creates the instance. If I just say is equal to this game, I am just passing a reference to that object. Do you guys get that? I'm not creating a new object. Okay. Now, if we move on from that, the other thing is I wanted to go over this toString with you. Yes.
So why is it num games minus 1? Because aren't you adding a new game? So
No. I'm referring to this one. I'm referring to a game that already exists. If I just go to num games, it wouldn't exist yet, because that would be the next position that will be initialized.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, ignore that. That was just me going through a silly example. I just wanted to show you the difference between that code wouldn't be there. It was just I was just going through. Yeah, Dean.
Is that a dash or minus?
That was a minus. But don't worry about it. That was me referring to the. So if I wanted to refer to the game that I just initialized, it'll be num games minus 1. Will be the last one that was put into there. Because remember, num games. If we go back to here, num games points to the next game object. So if I went num games minus 1, it would refer to the last one initialized. Okay. Now, if I look at this loop here in my toString, I'm saying create a string, create a variable called sall. So let's create a table. So sall, I'm doing a trace table here. So we have a variable called sall. We now have a variable called I. Okay? Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
We then have a I is less than num games. So num games we have. What is num games? Okay, so what is the current value of all these values? Sall in the first iteration is blank. I is 0, and what is num games? 4. So num games is 4, right? Now we go to our next iteration of it. So the first thing that happens, so we iterate again. So we go into here. So we're actually still in the first iteration of this loop. We now are entering it. It says sall plus equals games position I dot toString enter. So what would it do? So games position I, what is I? I is 0. So games position I is J6. So I'll go up to J6. It'll say get the toString of it. So J6 is this one here. So it's this one, CSS 200. And if we look at the toString method of our game object, what does our toString method of our game object look like? If we go to our game and we go to our toString here, our toString says title, says return title \n r space cost. So my SAll will be, because it records the toString of position 0, which is J6, which is CSS 200. So it'll be CSS \n space, sorry, R space 200. Do you guys get that? For the sake of, remember \n is an enter, right? So for the sake of this example, I'm going to use Alt Enter as being a \n because it does display it on a new line. Do you guys get that? Okay. Now, so if we're following this along here, sorry, my speaker's actually in the way of the screen, so I can't see the screen. Doesn't help. Right, so if we've got that there, are you guys good with this so far? What do we do now? Yeah.
If you, I think it was in Ratings Manager, you see line 21.
Yes.
Where do you, if you put like a number instead of num games in there, would it work?
It will, but then you're putting it in the same spot every single time you run that method.
Yeah. Okay.
The num games increments that you put it in a new position in the array each time. Num is a counter that'll go, okay, first I initialize position 0, then I initialize the object at position 1, then I initialize the object at position 2, so it's a counter keeping track of which position in the array I'm in.
Okay.
Whereas if I created just a static number,
You put like 6 in there.
it would just, every time you add a game, it will override 6.
Okay.
So this method I can reuse. The idea is you're creating a self-sustaining object that can do it for whatever the scenario is. Later on, you're going to read it from storage. So at one stage, you'll have 500 games, or you'll have 280 games, or whatever. You'll read it from the storage. You'll initialize whatever you get from the storage. You might have a filter that's applied. So you might search for something, and you'll filter it, and you'll only load those games into RAM. Does that make sense? Now, on from there, so CSS 200, we go through a new iteration. So we get to the end of this loop because we've now done that. So we go to there's a \enter at the end of it. So just remember, over here we actually have Alt Enter. Does that make sense? We have enter afterwards. So we've done that. Do you guys get that? Okay, now we are going to our next iteration. So immediately I++ initializes, which means it's incrementing by 1. So that means I will become 1. Is 1 less than num games?
Yes.
True, because num games doesn't change, so it's still true. So it says here, SAll plus equals. Plus equals means it's the same things that it was. So in other words, I take exactly what it was, because it is that still. Copy. So it's the same as what it was. Oh, hello. It didn't like me on that. It was the same as what it was. Plus now, it says games position I dot toString. So games position I is 1 now. So it goes to J14. So let's go up to J14. J14 is this one here. So Pac-Man 50. So now it will go to the toString of the game. So title \n r whatever. So Pac-Man 50. And it'll go and it will add it to my toString. So, sorry, my SAll. So if I now go to the end of my SAll, it will now go Pac-Man, Alt Enter, R50. Enter. Right? That's the end of that loop there. It now goes back. Iterates up. R becomes 2. Is 2 less than 4?
Yes.
True. Okay. So now it goes into the loop. It says SAll plus equals, which means it has the exact same everything in here, and we're adding to it. Remember that it had enter at the end of this. Sorry, I forgot to add that. So, because remember there was an enter after I added a toString, there's an enter. So now it has exactly what it had in there before, but now it goes to position 2 in my array, which is J22, and it calls a toString. Mario Kart 490, that's a very expensive Mario Kart. So, title \n r space cost. So I go and it will become, we add on there Mario Kart, so Mario Kart, Alt R 490, enter. Oh yeah, sorry, and I forgot to enter. Thank you very much for reminding me. At \n, enter. Now I increments to 3, right? You go into the code. It plus equals And now I is equal to 3, so we go to position 3. 3 is J30, which is fortnight 0. So we'll then go fortnight R0. Enter, enter. Alt, enter, alt, enter. Done. So the end of this method, now I becomes 4, right? Is 4 less than num games? No, because it's equal to it. So less than is not equal to. So it's 4, so it exits the loop. So what happens? It returns SL. So what is returned? It's
The last one.
CSS R200, enter, enter, Pac-Man, enter, R50, enter, 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 Fortnite, R0, enter, enter.
Yeah, so you lost Mario's next part.
Oh, it's there, it's just probably not. Did I forget Mario Kart?
Yeah, you
Ah.
copied the one before.
Pasted, yeah, you pasted the
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I forgot Mario Kart. Poor me, bad me. Yeah, so you're right. Now, luckily, a computer won't do what I do. Does that have everything now?
Yep.
Yeah. So now it's got the 4 things. So it's a text representation of the data that's going in there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is the purpose of the toString. It's gone through every single thing and has now returned the text that will be represented there. Do you guys get that?
Yeah.
This is a trace table. I've gone through a trace table of it. I'm going to delete this. Can I delete this?
Yeah.
Because I don't like having these lines so large. So we can continue with going through other stuff in here. Now, we're moving on now. So we got our toString prospect here. Do you guys get this? Now, and we've got the idea of adding our rating and so forth. But now, what if I wanted, sorry, we're adding our games. What if I wanted to add a rating? Actually, I'll tell you what, sorry, before we do that, I am going to go and show you that the toString does do what we said it does. Right? It does what we said it would do. Except for the R-man thing, but that was because I added. So exactly like we said it would do, it's got there. So if I make this larger, you'll see it's exactly like we said it would do.
So can you just go back to your rating manager class?
Sure?
Where did you code add game?
Okay, I ran add game by sending through the values that we were working with.
Where did
So I ran it here. So I created a new instance. I said I want to create a ratings manager object called rman, and I used the constructor. I then said rman.addGame, and I sent through the parameter into my ratings manager of the title and the cost. Here I then said games, position num games, which would be 0 at first, is equal to new game, and use the title and cost that I received. And then the same thing with num games.
So that's just adding
Adding.
one game.
Yes.
So,
But I ran it 4 times. I ran it once, twice, 3, 4 times. So every time I run add games, I'm adding new games to the.
I was just trying to see where you coded your add games.
Yeah. So remember, guys, this test method would be your GUI. Right now, I don't want to code my GUI, so I'm just running and testing my methods if they work. Come in.
Thank you, guys. I'm asking please, sir. But you remember that your lesson will end 10 minutes early.
Okay, so land at
So
8:20.
I was a bit on the back foot last time.
Okay.
Because they were still logging in, the computers were still going through the motions. Please, man.
But now it's logged in once, it should have to log in the second time as well. But yeah.
Half of them, their order didn't work.
Okay.
The story was there.
Cool.
Please, man. Thank
Sure.
you.
Okay, guys. So it's 8:10. We just need to log into the exam 37 accounts for the cycle test that's happening afterwards. If you don't mind, just please remind me. There's a cycle. The accommodation is right in here. So we just need to log in to make sure that they don't have to spend the time doing that. Anyway, guys, this is still live streaming, so I want to continue. All grades. All grades. Accommodation is right in here.
How do they use compute?
The audio, so they play the different questions so that they can audio. So they have readers. So instead of having a person per kid, you have a presentation that you'll press play on that question when you want it. Cool. Okay, guys. Moving on. What we're going to do here is we've now got we've got the add games. We're adding each of the individual games in here. We've got that. But now, what if I wanted to add a rating for a specific game? Now, just bear with me in this in some way. If I wanted to add a rating, I would want to be able to say add rating. I would want to be able. This is what I would want to do. From this side, I would want to be able to go add rating. It doesn't exist yet, so it's not going to work. 2, I want to say CSS, and then I would say a rating of 4, semicolon. I haven't coded it yet, but that's what I'd want to be able to do. But now I'm not sending through the object. So technically now this is not correct, but this is what I would want to be able to do. I should be able to know the title of the game and for it to then work, yes.
So wouldn't you like take all the ratings and add them together and then divide by them to get like an overall rating?
Well, first I have to have actually add ratings. So right now I don't care about that. Yes, you're right, we would need to do that at the end. But first we actually have to be able to add a rating before we can average them. So yes, we will learn how to average them.
So instead of rating rman.add rating, we not just add the rating to where it says CSS, comma 200, comma.
Yes, but there's more than one rating per game. There might be 500 people who rate an individual game. So it's not just one rating for a game. You're literally, this whole point of this is you're keeping all of the rating statistics. So you're creating a program to keep track of the ratings that are on there. Okay, so that's what I would want to be able to do. But now, remember, to add a rating, if I wanted to create this public void add rating, open brackets, string, title of the game, comma, int rating. That's my method, right? Are you guys happy with my method structure? Do you guys get my guys? Connor, focus. Yeah. I can't even see you past hello. You got that. Hello. Okay, now right. Now yeah, what we got here is we are going to be adding the individual ratings to each of these things. But now if I go ratings, so if I follow the same routes as we got there, ratings, position, num ratings is equal to new rating. See what problem I already have. What are my constructors? I can send through a game object and a rating, or I can send through a default. I can't send. I want to send through a game rating, but I can't because I don't know what game it is. So what we need to do is we need to find the game with that rating. With that title. So we need to find the game with that title. Do you guys get this? So what we do is we create what's called a search method. So we are going to be searching for it. Now there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can create a method public int get pos string title, which would return the position.
You need to change the pattern.
It's the reason why it's red underlined. Oh, public. Okay, and then return the position of the variable. So in here, what I would do is I would loop through. So remember, to loop through your array, you always loop from position 0 till the number of games, not ratings. So we loop. Do you guys get that this would loop through every single position of my array? It'll go 0, 1, 2, 3. And I just want to see if games position I, right?
Yeah.
Dot get title dot equals title. Now that's a lot of methods. Dot get title will retrieve the title of that specific game. I'm seeing some heads not paying attention where there are devices that apparently are more interesting than me, which perhaps they are more interesting than me in real life or in life, but unfortunately what I am telling you right now is going to help you with your life, which is hopefully more interesting than your device. That was a weird colluded sentence, but I think it made sense. Ish. Alright, yes, Malcolm.
So I was just wondering if you couldn't use a search case instead, or just try and find the.
Yes. No, the problem is because it's unknown size. You can't use switch cases if it's unknown size. Because then there could be 500. Are you going to do a switch case for 500 different possibilities? No. Okay. Or 5,000 or whatever. It's so you loop through it and then you do an if. You could do it instead of this, but it's a one singular if, so it's not. A switch case wouldn't make so much sense. No, that's what we're doing now. Is we're trying to find the position of the game. Oh, with that title. So, like, guys, I'm looping through each position. Let me just quickly finish something, then I'll get to your question, Scott. I'm looking. I'm saying if the title of the game at position I. So, firstly, I am going to position I. I starts at 0. So remember, my loop goes 0, 1, 2, 3, and we'll stop there, wouldn't it? This is for I. So when I is 0, it looks at J6 and it says, so let's say I sent through the game Mario Kart, was the title that was sent through. It would go to position 0, J6.get title, so it would get the title from J6. J6 title is CSS. So what does it say?
False.
False. So it ignores it, goes to the next one. So it goes to the next one, so R becomes 1. 1 is J14. J14 is Pac-Man. Is Pac-Man equal to Mario Kart? No. So now it goes to the next one, J22. Goes to J22. Is to get title Mario Kart? Is Mario Kart equal to Mario Kart?
Yeah.
True. So then, what would I want to do?
Return position.
Return I. Because I is the position I'm at. And technically, here, I could just return -1. But, yeah. Yes.
So how does it know which game you're referring to?
Yeah, I was going to ask the same question.
Yeah.
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 Sorry, it was Scott's question first. Was that your question?
Yeah.
Games position I.
So how's it Mario Kart? How's the title then?
Because look, okay, I is 0, right?
Yeah.
So when I is 0, it's referring to position 0 of the games object,
Yeah.
which refers to J6. So I'll go to J6, go to the title of J6, which will receive CSS.
But why does it have to go? Why is it comparing it to Mario Kart?
Because it says here, in position 0 of games, because games, position I, meaning in the array, because this is an array here, so games, position 0, is stored, that object is stored in J6, so it goes up to J6.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying, like, why is it comparing CSS to?
Because, the title is received here. So I said, in my example, I am doing this. In my example, I am saying, in my test, for example, I am saying, rman, so let int pos is equal to rman dot get pos Mario Kart. I just came up with an example.
So we needed that. We understand that. We needed that.
Yeah. So but I said, okay, I probably should have coded it, but I verbally said to you, if this method received, meaning it got sent from somewhere. That's what I meant when I said if this method receives. Do you guys get that? Mario Kart, this is what it'll do. So when I said start pos, what would we return? No. If I just said the pos, not it's what would be returned?
Wouldn't it be J22?
No, it would be 2. It's position 2 in the array that contains the one at Mario Kart. Let's just play it to show you. Position 2. Do you guys get that? Now, this is so. If it doesn't exist, what would be returned? -1.
So smart.
No, it's if I search for a battlefield, it would return -1. Why? Because it doesn't exist in the array. So in other words, in my test here, if I would actually maybe even put something in here where I'd have to say if pos is -1, give the user a message saying does not exist. Does that make sense? So what I'll do, I'll get to you now. For example, so if it was battlefield, now if I ran this, you'll see there that it says pos -1, right? Now, I think it's with 2 T's, I have no idea the spelling, but yeah. Right, so technically what you could do is you could surround this with an if statement and then say if, and then if else. So if, I could say if pos is greater than or equal to 0, then print out the position. Else, site does not exist in array. So now I'm doing error handling to check, okay, does not exist in array. So if -1 is returned, it means what are you searching for does not exist in the array. Questions before I show the other methods. So this is option A. Yes.
So why did you initialize your position to be -1?
It's convention for if you do not find, if you're looking for the position of an array, if you do not find it, it's convention to be -1. Because if you think about it, 0 is a position, right? Because it's position 5,622 could be a position in the array. So -1 can't be a position in the array. So -1 is the value you return if it doesn't exist.
So surely if you coded to return Mario Kart, why is it returning do not exist? Because it is greater.
No, because I'm not doing Mario Kart now. Because what did I send through?
I don't feel like it doesn't exist.
Okay, it's whatever I send through. I used an example of one thing. The whole point of creating parameters is that I can send through. Shane, are you awake?
I can hear you though.
Okay, well, as long as you're focusing, if that's your way of focusing, I'm sweet to that. Just please don't.
So if you put in Mario Kart, then it would return.
Yeah, if I put in Mario Kart now, okay, so let's just show you. So if I put in there, let's say I put in there Fortnite, okay, Fortnite, I could send through whatever I wanted to there. I could say Fortnite, and if I press play now, you'll see there it says that Fortnite is at position 3.
Okay.
So I've said there it will return -1, and if it returns -1, it does not exist in an array. So if it is, so only if it's greater than or equal to 0, will it print out that. Now, I'll get to your question now. Just to show you something quickly, you obviously wouldn't hard code this, would you? What you would do is you would do something along the, we don't have much GUI in here, but let's just say string game, or G search, so the game I'm searching for, let's say, is equal to joptionpane.show input dialog, enter game you're looking for.
Yeah.
So now I'm asking, now guys, this is just code that you just kind of remember. This is a class that somebody else created that allows us to quickly do something. You haven't done JOptionPane before, but JOptionPane is actually a frame that pre-exists. That it's a class that somebody else created, like you guys remember when you created a JFrame and you created the text things, all those. JOptionPane is a class that exists that we can use. In that class that exists, there's a method called showInputDialog, which will, if you guys, I did that a bit too quick, but what you'll see is if I go showInputDialog, it requires an object message to be sent through to it, and it will return us a string. In other words, it's going to ask the user for something, and it's going to return a string of something that is in there. Now, what that will do is it will allow you to input a string. Whatever string the user inputs will be stored in gsearch, and then what I could do is here, instead of searching for Fortnite, I could search for what the user asked to be searched for. So now when I press play, it'll ask me, it comes up with a dialog saying enter the game you are looking for, and then if I say I am now looking for Mario Kart, okay, it will now come back with it's at position 2.
Oh, that is so cool.
Now, yeah, it is very cool. Now, I'm going to comment out this toString for now, just so we don't have that other stuff that I keep having to run it past. And obviously, if I search for something that doesn't exist, so if I search Batman Returns, it will then go does not exist in array. So, because we have, it is very cool. We've created a program that we can search for games on our stuff. Now, this, Johnson, you had a question.
So please go to position plus possible or something. Like
Let's get pause.
-1, no, back to the
Back to the test, okay, on.
the position and pause. We say -1 and still
Okay, basically, you have to understand this to understand that. I had pause variable. I initialize and I set it to be -1. Now, when I do that, I am saying position is -1 if I go through every single position in the array. So I've looped through every position in the array. So if I'm looking for Batman Returns, I go to J6. Does that equal to Batman Return? No. I go to position 1 in the array, J14. Does that equal to Batman? That's Pac-Man. I go to The next position, J22, no. Next position, J30, no. So I get to there, which means it exits the loop, which means it's just going to return positive, which means it will return -1. So if that doesn't exist in the array, -1 will be returned. Technically, I can do this, but the reason why I didn't do that is because I just wanted you to follow. So now, if I've gone through the whole loop and I never returned I, because when you return a value, I'll get to your question now. When you return a value, you've got to remember that it doesn't actually, it doesn't continue with the method. The method is complete. The object for this method is to return a integer. The moment you return a integer, did you not get much sleep last night?
No, I never get sleep, so.
But I was talking to Enzo more, but yes, he has got it, obviously. Yeah. So when you return I, right? This method has completed its job. That's its only goal. So it does not continue executing the method. So, like, let's say if this is a method of 5,000 games. If I found the game at position 10, it will return 10 and will ignore the rest. Because as soon as you return something, it stops. I think the questions go Scott, and then it was Connor. Then it was Carl, then it was Connor. Was it you first?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Carl first. Carl.
You know how you coded if the string type doesn't exist, you initialize your integer to be -1. So then, instead of it popping up as -1 where you run your program, did you code it to say it does not exist in array? Yeah. So
Yes.
how did you change it from?
I just said if it's greater than or equal to 0, change it to that position.
Okay.
Else it does not exist in the array.
So you're basically saying instead of presenting -1, you said it does not exist.
Yes.
In array. Okay.
Because -1 just won't make as much sense to the user. Yeah, guys, just on that note, we have to end this lesson now because it's nearly 10 past, and we haven't done register yet. So for now, we'll do the next way of doing this in the next lesson, and so forth. Unfortunately, we didn't get as far as I would like today, but we need to take our time with this because this is very important stuff. Okay, cool. All right, goodbye, guys. Let's stop it.